Hey everyone. Yeah, today is my 37th birthday, believe it or not. And what am I doing? I'm going to go get coffee and creamer. Go figure. But anyway, I want to welcome you to the Animated Girl Profiles Confidential. I believe this is the 32nd edition. I know it's been a while and I do apologize. But the character I want to talk about here in the Animated Girl Profiles Confidential, the 32nd episode that is, or edition, you see the name down below. I want to talk, and you see the picture obviously, I want to talk about Carbine. That's right, Carbine is a character from the Biker Mice from Mars franchise. Now, she didn't make her initial debut to the 1994 second season. That's right, she didn't make her debut to about, I would almost say, midpoint in the 1994 second season of the original run. You see, Biker Mice from Mars had two runs. They had a rebooted, I guess you could say, well, I wouldn't say rebooted. I'd say more of a softly rebooted or retconned continuation, if you will, 4 years ago or 5 years ago in 2006, which initially didn't get a broadcast here in the U.S. until almost about 2 years later. Yeah, it didn't get a broadcast till almost 2 years later here in the U.S. Fortunately, thanks to things like torrents, I was able to get the entire series. But with that said, let's talk about Carbine for a second. Again, like I said, let's talk about Carbine for a second. See, like I said, Carbine wasn't introduced to almost midpoint in the second season of the original run. However, her impact would be one that fans would embrace and accept for quite some time. As a matter of fact, Carbine basically became an overnight sensation. Well, I wouldn't say overnight sensation, but initially, after her first appearance in the show via flashback, and then more so in story itself, Carbine's, I guess you could say the support for Carbine became so huge that obviously the studio knew this. New World Productions and Marvel, I think, knew this. And they realized they couldn't just have her for this one 3-part story arc that they were doing. They needed to have her for more. So they brought her back in another episode where she comes to Earth. Hold on for a sec. Well, like I said, where she comes to Earth. She comes to Earth about several episodes after the 3-parter. Now, the 3-parter, like I said, is called Back to Mars. And this took place between the mid to late early portion of the second season. In other words, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 episodes into the second season, I think, or getting close to it, that we got Back to Mars. I have to look at the episode chronologically, episode listing chronologically, but that's when she appeared. Now, of course, for any fan out there of animation and any fan of Biker Mice, period, you pretty much know that Carbine is the love interest, the girlfriend of Throttle, who is the leader of the Biker Mice. Now, what's intriguing about Carbine's relationship with Throttle along the way is the fact that in the original series, she's essentially the leader of the resistance on Mars, if you will. Well, Throttle, of course, like I said, is the leader of the Biker Mice. And obviously you could tell that they have a very distant relationship. Sorry about that. But like I said, you could tell, and the one you could tell they have a very distant relationship, but it's a very come together like relationship, if you will. She basically wants Throttle back on Mars. Throttle wants to be back on Mars, but like I mentioned earlier, she will come to Earth if need be, and she has proven that not just in the original run, but in the second run of the franchise as well. Now, what's intriguing about it is when we first get introduced to her officially, not through flashback, but her encountering the characters, is she's not too high on betrayals. She's not too high on people stabbing them in the back, or stabbing her and the Resistance in the back. So, long story short, she gets the false information. This is a bit of spoilers if you've not watched the show yet. And if you haven't, where have you been? Basically, like the rest of the Resistance, she gets this edited, chopped up footage of what seems to be the biker mice, and, Throttle especially, helping one of their arch enemies. Now, of course, she does find out later on that the information, the video footage they got was false. But we also find out that she does still care for Throttle. She still loves him. Heck, she kisses him before he and the other biker mice go off to save the planet. The planet of Mars, that is. Now, like I said, she's not too keen on getting stabbed in the back and stuff. But one of the things she's really not too keen on at times, one of the things that really kind of hardened her a little bit before I guess you started seeing that more softer side that she obviously had, was the fact that Throttle had gone to Earth and had not come back. So she had assumed, like I said, through that false video footage, that he had turned against the Resistance, in which he didn't. Now, she does come back later on, like I said, a few episodes after the Back to Mars 3-parter in Seeds of Victory, and she shows up on Earth. So at least it balances out there. That's the one thing that they did in the second season after they did the Back to Mars 3-parter. They had the characters they encountered, the allies, if you will, show up on Earth to help them out, to help the biker mice out. So you had Moto's nephew, Rimfire, show up, and then you had, I think it was Stroker. First of all, it was Stroker that showed up, who was an ally. You had Rimfire, and then you had Carbine. So basically, you had three of the main characters from the Mars portion of the Resistance show up on Earth to help the biker mice. So that was pretty cool. Now, the last time she showed up in the original run of the series was in the finale, Once Upon a Time on Mars, which was being told in flashback. That was the last time. Now, when the new series came out in 2006, she became more of an established character. She had basically moved up in rank. She was now a general, but she still had this connection, this love with Throttle. Her and Throttle still had this love. The only problem was, even though she got what she and the biker mice themselves got what they wanted going back to Mars, obviously off screen, if you will, the biker mice, of course, had to go back to Earth. There was a situation, if you haven't watched the new series, again, like I said before, with the original 90s series, Where Have You Been? Go and watch it. Being the 2006 series, she ends up, basically her and Throttle's relationship gets a little bit more strained, because now he has to go back to Earth, and he's kind of like on equal footing with her in a sense, but not really, because she's higher ranked. But they do an episode where she's basically promotes him to a rank similar to hers, I believe, so he has to go back. Yeah, he has to go back. So basically they develop that relationship between Throttle and her a lot more. I'm pretty sure they still stay together. I'm pretty sure of that. Haven't watched all the 2006 series, but I'm pretty sure they still stick together. But it's a really interesting development because not only do you see her more in the series more often than you did in the original, but you see her do more in the series. You see her help out Charlie or Charlene, you know, the April O'Neil, I guess you could say, to the biker mice. You know, she's kind of buddy with her, BFF almost. So basically, her character between both versions, both runs of the franchise in series form, is a great character. I mean, heck, she's included in the I think the PS2 game. Yeah, they had a PS2 game to promote the 2006 series. I don't know if the game ever went on to PS3 or Xbox 360 or Xbox One. Well, not Xbox One, but PS4. But basically, when the series came out in 2006, PS2, and again, I don't know if it went on to PS3, she was part of that game. She was part of the video game based on the new incarnation of the series. So, overall, her character is I would say this is probably one of the most developed, well-developed, and most rounded characters I've seen in both incarnations. Yeah, she didn't do much when it came to the first series because she was introduced in the second season. She was. But she did a lot more with the second run of the show. And all I could say is, you know, if they ever bring Biker Mice back in animated form, whoever decides to do that again, or if they finally do what I think a lot of fans would like to see, and that's do a Biker Mice movie, live action, CGI, whatever you want to call it, they definitely have to incorporate her into the new series or into the movie if they do one, whenever that happens, because she is definitely one of the most developed and well-rounded characters out there, and she's a great foil. You know, she's a great foil for someone like Throttle. So, overall, that's all I can say about Carbine from Biker Mice from Mars. You guys let me know what you think, and thank you for listening to this edition, the 32nd edition, on my birthday.